All right, for this week, this is the last week, we are at Spring Creek in Kanarraville. Spring Creek Canyon, Spring Creek, whatever it's called, I'm not actually sure. So Kanarraville, so we're a little bit higher than we've been in the past, kind of more getting into Great Basin type of habitat here. In terms of the dominant vegetation at this site, we've got our Utah juniper, we've got some single leaf pine, we have big sagebrush, we have Utah serviceberry over there, we've got some skunkbush sumac. So kind of, it's a mix of, there's some rubber rabbit brush, so things we've all seen before, right? So here's a new shrub. Do you remember last week how we saw that little leaf mountain mahogany, which was Cercocarpus intricatus? So this is in the same genus. This is alderleaf mountain mahogany, which is Cercocarpus montanus. So mountain mahogany of the mountain. And if you know what an alder looks like, those leaves do look kind of like little alder leaves. Pretty recognizable plant, pretty easy to confuse the leaf shape with Utah serviceberry. The easiest way to tell them apart is with this alderleaf mountain mahogany. The leaves are really strongly pleated like that, and the teeth go further down the sides of the leaf versus serviceberry, where the leaves are kind of a lighter green and they don't have that strong pleating with the veins, and the teeth are just at the end. And no flowers on this one, unfortunately, but the flowers look pretty similar to the little leaf mountain mahogany we saw last week. So I always think it's fascinating how some plants can make it work, you know, even in the most inhospitable of places. So we're looking at this rock wall here, and you know, things that can persist just by putting their roots into little cracks in the wall. So this is something in the rose family, Matte Roxspirea Petrophytum cespitosum. Petrophytum means literally, petro is Greek for rock, phytum is plant, and then cespitosum means mat forming or cushion forming. So you'll find this thing growing on rock faces, in slick rock habitat in Zion. It's pretty common. There's a bunch of it all. There's a bunch of dead stuff in there. Not flowering yet, like most things, unfortunately. It's still a little bit early. But it's got little rose family flowers with 5 free petals, but they're tiny. Petrophytum cespitosum. Here's a big clump of it. And if we zoom in, you can see those little sticks sticking up. Those are the inflorescence stalks from last year. And there's actually a few that you can see. I don't know if they're turned up in the video, but you can see a few spots where there are old dead flowers from last year over there. Well, we saw the little leaf mountain mahogany last week, and we just saw alderleaf mountain mahogany. So here's the third species in our area. I might as well do this one too. So this is curl leaf mountain mahogany. And if we look at the leaves, so this one is really similar to the little leaf mountain mahogany, and some taxonomists actually place them as subspecies or varieties of a single species. But to me, I feel like they're pretty consistently different, and you can tell the difference between them. So the leaves in curl leaf mountain mahogany are longer, and little leaf mountain mahogany, they're more like almost round, like just really needle-like leaves. These have a wider blade, and the margins curl over, so that's where the common name of curl leaf mountain mahogany comes from. Again, no flowers. There are flower buds on here, but no flowers quite yet. And you can see this one grows quite a bit larger. So alderleaf and curl leaf mountain mahogany can both get to be pretty tall shrubs. So this one's probably 9 or 10 feet tall versus the little leaf, which usually grows more kind of in these rocky habitats and is usually a smaller shrub, maybe up to 5 feet or so. It's growing under this Utah juniper. We have a milk vetch. We saw milk vetches at the historic Babylon Trail, but I wanted to revisit. This one, well, first of all, the characteristics of the pea family, we've got pinnately compound leaves. So see that whole unit there, that whole thing is a leaf. So each one of these little leafy sections, that's a leaflet. Okay, and the flowers in the pea family, in the Fabaceae, well, in the most diverse subgroup around here, are these bilaterally symmetric flowers, right? They've got one plane of symmetry down the middle with a banner petal, that big pink petal in the back, and then they've got two wing petals to the side here, and underneath the wing petals you've got the keel petals here, which are these petals that are fused together and kind of cup around the stamens and the carpels. Fused sepals, 5 fused sepals, 5 free petals. And then other features of that are common in the Fabaceae, in the legume family, oftentimes they're stipules at the base of the leaves. Stipules are just these outgrowths of the leaf right where it attaches to the stem. So I don't know how well that's showing up there on the video, but that's a stipule right there. That's really common. And the leaves, if you crush them, you'll get kind of a green bean smell to them. So this species is Harmony milk vetch. So we're close to New Harmony here, right, in Kanarraville. And Harmony milk vetch is named that because it is just restricted around this area, right? So that's why it has that name. So that's what we call an endemic. An endemic species is one that just has a really restricted distribution. It's only found in a few locations. So the Latin name is Astragalus concordius, Harmony milk vetch. Okay, so these shrubs here, we've got these shrubs forming extensive thickets, and they haven't really woken up yet, but I want to talk about these ones. Because we've seen a closely related species. So this is an oak, right? This is Gamble's oak. And if we look, we've got a few leaves from last year. They're all dried up and curled up, but if we straighten them out, we can see they've got that oak leaf look with the lobes. Just very distinctive look to them, and they're littering the ground all over here. So again, you know, even if a plant is not really awake or, you know, producing leaves or flowers or anything yet, you can often figure some things out just by looking at the circumstantial evidence around, right? So in western Utah, we've basically got the Dixie live oak just down in Washington County, and then Gamble's oak, which is more of our Great Basin oak, everywhere from Iron County north. Okay, and these oaks will hybridize. So around this elevation, you'll sometimes get both species together, and you'll get these hybrids with leaves that are bigger than Dixie live oak but smaller than Gamble's oak, and more lobed than Dixie live oak but pointier than a standard Gamble's oak leaf. And so most oaks will hybridize with each other. Other characteristics, you know, when you're doing winter botany on oaks, so you can look at the dead leaves. Another one that's helpful is if you look at the twigs, see how there's a bunch of buds, leaf buds, all clustered together at the end of the twig. It has a very kind of a club-like look to it. That's a very oak thing, regardless of the species. Like, oaks tend to do that. So that's another good clue that you're looking at an oak. And these ones, both the Dixie live oak and Gamble's oak, they don't generally grow as trees. They're more often shrubby and thicket forming, and so they have rhizomes under the ground, kind of the same way aspens do, so one individual can live for a very long time, and it'll just send up these trunks that'll have a shorter lifespan, but the whole thicket is one clone and kind of can be considered to be one organism. So that's Gamble's oak, Quercus gambellii.
It's blooming.
So here we are right by the creek. This is Spring Creek, and we've got some nice riparian vegetation here. So we've got a willow, and I'm not sure of what species this is. I don't know my willows super well, so I'm just gonna look it up later, but it's just flowering right now, so I wanted to point this out. See if I can get it into focus here. Focus. Come on, phone. There we go. Okay. So willows have these, basically what we're looking at here is an inflorescence, an aggregation of flowers, a bunch of tiny flowers. So they're wind pollinated, so kind of like ash and other things like that that are wind pollinated. It doesn't make a lot of sense to invest a whole lot in a showy, showy petals. And the other thing that's often you'll see in wind-pollinated plants is they're often either monoecious, separate male and female flowers on the same plant, or dioecious, separate male and female flowers on different plants. And willows are mostly dioecious. So what we've got here is a male plant. Those are the stamens, and you can see how the older ones are down toward the base. So you can see the older stamens that are already passed, and then the reddish ones kind of toward the tip. Those are the stamens that are just coming out. The flowers that are just maturing. My hands are super shaky right now, sorry about that. So willow, which is Salix species. So Salicaceae, willow family, same family as cottonwoods, which we talked about before. Cottonwoods, quaking aspen, those are all Salicaceae. And more broadly, we can recognize the plant, Salicaceae, so they often grow in wetter riparian zones. The buds have a very distinct look to them. They're often reddish and pointy like this. And then the leaves, so we don't have new leaves, but we've got last year's leaves. The leaves tend to be lanceolate, so kind of narrow and long, sometimes really narrow, with just little tiny teeth on the margins. I don't know how well those are showing up here. So that's a willow.
Yeah.
One thing I did want to mention that I forgot to say before is, so willows are described as being wind pollinated, and they certainly look wind pollinated, but you'll often find on some of these, I don't know how well it's showing up in the video, but there are quite a few flies, different insects around here that are visiting these flowers. So I don't think they're producing any nectar, but oftentimes bees and flies will visit flowers for the pollen itself, and take the pollen as the reward for the flower visitation. So there might be some of both happening in this species, in this willow. Wind pollination and insect pollination. Here are the female flowers of this same willow species. So see these pointy structures on here. Let me zoom in a bit. So each one of those is a separate flower. That's the carpel of a different flower. Each one of those, so you can see that it's basically just an ovary, a style, and a stigma. Okay, so they're at various stages of development. Here we've got this fairly small herbaceous perennial plant. So it is a perennial. It comes back year after year. Here's my hand for scale, just to get a sense of the size. So let's take a closer look. Here's the flower. So notice we've got 4 petals that flare outward at the top of the petal. And let's see if we can get a close look at the stamens. Zoomed in as much as I can. I don't know how well you can see, but there are 6 stamens, 4 long, 2 short. So that combination, right, 4 petals in an X or an H shape, and 6 stamens with 4 long, 2 short, equals Brassicaceae, the mustard family. Wherever you are in the world, that's always going to be the case. So this is a local Brassicaceae that is fairly diverse in Western North America. This is the genus Physaria, which are known as bladder pods because when the flowers mature into fruits, the fruits are often hollow and inflated. So that's where the name bladder pods comes from. And the species, the most common one here is Physaria chambersii, chambers bladder pod. It's hard to know for sure until you have the fruits. The fruits are they tend to look very similar, a lot of the species here, and the key diagnostic characters are in the mature fruits. So we'll just say Physaria species for now, probably chambers bladder pod, but I'm going to withhold judgment on that for now. So we're probably a mile and a half down the trail here at Spring Creek, and this last little bit we're about to enter this more narrow canyon environment. So if you haven't been here, this is a really cool spot, and it takes about a mile and a half to get to here, and everything really changes once we get inside this canyon. So we'll see what we see up here. So basically here's the creek coming out. We've just basically been following the creek this whole time, and it goes up into this canyon. We are in the canyon now, so you can see it's much shadier under here. The walls of the canyon go really high relative to how narrow the canyon is. So this area is shady most of the day, and the vegetation changes quite a bit. So for one, we've got fir trees here that we don't have right outside the canyon. You recognize this is a fir, an Abies, by the needles, which are flattened, and they are not, they're rounded off at the tip, so I'm like a spruce, right? And this, I don't think this is white fir, which is the one that we'll have up on Cedar Mountain, because notice how the needles are much more flattened. They just kind of come out on either side of the branch. And the foliage is kind of more of just a straight up green color versus white fir, which is kind of a blue-green or a light green, blue-green color. So this little herb here, this little herbaceous annual, this is another plant that you'll only find in this canyon habitat here at Spring Creek. And again, take a look at the flowers. So we've got these yellow petal, I don't know how well you can see that. It looks like they're getting kind of bleached out with the light. There we go, a little bit better maybe. So 4 yellow petals in kind of an H shape. We've got 6 stamens down inside there. So this is another Brassicaceae. Hopefully you're kind of getting the look of what Brassicaceae tend to look like. So this is an endemic. This is another plant that's only found right here in this area. It's actually, the name is Zion draba. So draba are these little annual mustards, and this is the Zion draba. So you'll see wedge leaf draba pretty commonly all around our area. It has white flowers, but otherwise looks pretty similar to this. But this little yellow flowered one, only found around here. That's Zion draba, which is Draba zionensis, I believe. All right. Here's another fun one. I was hoping we would run into this one on this trail because I know it's here. So looking at the leaves, so these purpley leaves. So this is a little herbaceous perennial thing again, right? Looking at these purple leaves, see how they are pinnately compound. And over here we've got, so these plants are growing in these rosettes, and we've got some with flowers here. So this plant is dwarf lousewort, and it's actually related to paintbrush. It's in the same family as Indian paintbrush, and it is also a parasite. It's a hemiparasite, so it does its own photosynthesis, but the roots parasitize the host plant that it grows underneath. And louseworts, they have these flowers with, basically what we're looking at here is a corolla of fused petals, and they always have the stigma and the style kind of sticking out the end. Well, I don't want to say always, but often, and it's often kind of got a little asymmetry to it, like a little twist in it at the end. You see that there? And overall the flower is just a little bit asymmetrical. I don't know how well you can see that there. So that's dwarf lousewort, which is, louseworts are pedicularis, so that's Pedicularis centranthera, dwarf lousewort.